These comments came a week after protests in LA against immigration and customs enforcement raids, as Florida officials warned would-be protesters in advance of expected rallies around the nation on June 14th that Florida is not California. The state leaders said any rioting would be nipped in the bud right away. And I guess that is rioting real or imagined. Especially imagined. Hey, shout out to all of the subscribers and members here on the channel. Don't forget to like the video. I am Reese Waters and I'm troubled. Now, shout out to you guys for sending me story ideas. Several of you emailed me this, Deshandra among you, at admin@reesewaters.com, and credit to you guys. Keep sending your ideas that way. But these comments from Brevard County Sheriff Wayne Ivey.
I'll start out by addressing the doxing issue that we were talking about. Our ICE agents, just like our Florida Highway Patrol, are our partners. We all ride together in this. We all are out here to make sure that we're protecting our citizens, protecting our communities. Many of them have been called to the border. Many of them have been called to other locations to deal with the amount of fugitives and things that are going on, detainers. So for us, we will have their back. We will work closely with Colonel Howes and his team in making sure that we're increasing patrol, we're watching them. Anybody that's doxing them, as the General said, we passed a law about 4 or 5 years ago that makes it illegal to dox here in the state of Florida. So anybody that's doing that, we will take them to full task on doing it. We will stand with you. I want to define a couple things, and our General was very kind in how he said things. I'm not as usually as elegant in how I say things. So I'm gonna first say that peaceful protests are part of our democracy. We invite people to share their opinions. That's what our country is all about. The key word in that is peaceful. And if it's peaceful, us in law enforcement are going to make sure you have a safe environment to do it in. That's part of that process. If you let it turn violent, whoo! You do not want to do that in Brevard County. I'm going to tell you that, and I believe I can speak for my fellow sheriffs around the rest of the state. You don't want to let it happen. And just so there's no confusion, because I don't want to hear any whining later saying we didn't know, I'm going to break it down for you, all right? Because as you watch these riots unfold across the rest of the country, what you are seeing is buildings being burned down, police cars being bricked, having explosive devices thrown on them, having fire, guns pointed at them, bricks thrown at them, all and on. So I'm gonna break it down for you, all right? And if somebody wants to know what I mean by turn violent, all right, this is what I mean.
How did you even get this number? This phone been off for 2 weeks. I would like to thank Aura for sponsoring this video. I don't know if you've ever tried to Google your name or email and shuddered at the results of what you found. It's terrifying, and there are companies that are called data brokers that sell your data, and they do it to pretty much whoever is willing to pay. That is why I recommend today's sponsor, Aura, to my family and friends. They take care of the hard part for you, automatically removing your info from these sites and keeping it off. Now, I just found Aura a few months ago, and it's wild what they were able to find in a short amount of time. But Aura goes even further. As an all-in-one digital security, you may already have a digital security tool, but not having Aura is like locking the front door, but leaving the back door open, which my wife has told me I'm not allowed to do anymore. You can get alerts if your personal info is found on the dark web, or it gives you real-time fraud alerts for credit and banking, 24/7 monitoring. Aura includes $5 million in identity theft insurance protection, and they have U.S. fraud experts ready to help 24/7. At least this way, we can fight back. And that is why I choose Aura. Try Aura for free for 14 days at aura.com/ReeseWaters. Again, that's aura.com/ReeseWaters. And those 2 weeks are enough for them to discover places where your data is being exposed and sold. I'm not leaving myself vulnerable, and you shouldn't either.
If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play. This has got to stop. You're watching what's taking place out there. You're seeing police officers that are being attacked, being spit on, being put in harm's way just for doing their jobs. You're seeing ICE agents that are being targeted for doing their jobs. And you're seeing obstructionists that are doing all of this, standing in the way of law and order. Not here, not in the state of Florida. So, to make it real simple, if you don't want to have any of those things happen to you, obey the law. Go protest all you want. Do it peacefully. Stand on the mountaintops and yell your opinion, your views. We invite that. But don't you dare break the law, because it won't go well for you.
Now, there is so much wrong with that. And let's start with the big picture, because he was very careful to couch his comments. It was like a compliment sandwich. It was a fact sandwich. He threw a fact and a virtue at the top and a fact and a virtue at the bottom, and just literal nonsense sandwich. This is like one of those sandwiches when you deep in the trenches, just two pieces of bread and just nothing in between of factual basis. Now, he talks about how protests and peaceful protests is perfectly okay. It is the bedrock of our democracy and all of that. Yet he also is citing these riots that are occurring nationwide. Now, there was so much misinformation, and dare I say, not misinformation, this was disinformation. There was so much nonsense being broadcast about what was going on in LA. I got a whole video coming out just going at Fox News and their disinformation. Imagine if I open it up to the entire right wing. We got AI footage. We got footage that it didn't take place in LA at all. We got footage actually from the J6 insurrection being used to describe what's going on in LA. So you are mischaracterizing what's going on in LA and using that to justify you clamping down on violent protesters. Well, excuse me if I don't trust your justification of who is and isn't violent, because the reference you used was faulty. So let's start there. Now, let's work in reverse order, because he talked about how if you point a gun, or you throw a firebomb, or you throw a brick, we will kill you graveyard dead. So apparently all those things are not only on the same level, but also punishable by death. I guess we don't need any more criminal code in Florida. I guess we can we don't need any judges. Apparently, we don't need any judges. We don't need any criminal code, because Wayne Ivey said throwing a brick is punishable by death. He didn't even bother, which maybe I should give him some credit in this regard, because normally they would at least go with if we feel threatened, if we feel like our life is threatened, and we've seen that be abused. He didn't even bother. Somebody throwing a brick over there, apparently I can kill you graveyard dead, because Wayne Ivey said we don't need no laws and no justice system or nothing. I hope that tasted good, judges in Florida. Your services are no longer needed, at least the ones in Brevard County. Then he hit us with spitting. If you spit at an officer or you hit an officer, you go to the hospital. Now, here's my issue with that. And I certainly would not ever suggest that somebody spit or hit an officer or anybody. I don't advocate for spitting or putting your hands on anybody at any point. But here's the thing. Because just as with the pointing of the gun and the firebomb, you didn't really even specify whether or not you felt threatened or you felt like it was needed to, to save somebody's life or something like that. So obviously spitting and hitting is not something that would be life threatening. But what you have unleashed is your ability to react out of anger, because that is something that is infuriating. If somebody spits or hits you, you are allowed to react out of anger. That is what you have said. Where that becomes problematic is when these are the people that are supposed to give a factual account of events and also have the power of life and death on their hip. You have said that there is no longer the need for them to feel threatened, A, and B, you're okay to react out of anger. So just feel free to take out whatever feelings you may be bringing to the job and how that might be inflamed by what you see. You have a green light from Wayne Ivey. These comments came a week after protests in LA against immigration and customs enforcement raids, as Florida officials warned would-be protesters in advance of expected rallies around the nation on June 14th that Florida is not California. The state leaders said any rioting would be nipped in the bud right away. And I guess that is rioting real or imagined. Especially imagined. The remarks, including the threat of death against violent protesters, drew criticism from the ACLU of Florida, which warned the state sheriffs that they would have to pay millions of dollars in damages if they used excessive force against protesters. Brevard County Sheriff Wayne Ivey's violent and provocative threat to kill protesters exercising their First Amendment rights is extremely un-American and unbecoming for an elected leader sworn to protect the public. That was from the state's ACLU chapter in a post to social media. Now, an interesting thing about that post, he talked about an elected official with the goal of protecting the public. Did that sound like he had any interest in protecting the public? Did that sound like he had any interest in protecting the public? What it sounded like is you wanted to advance the right-wing narrative of widespread rioting in California and give yourself the power in advance to clamp down on anybody who may upset you in the streets in Florida, since it no longer needs to be, law and order. Law and order is about the actual legal code, but you done thrown that right out the window now, haven't you, Wayne Ivey? Florida passed an anti-riot bill in 2021 that says peaceful protesters can face criminal charges if their actions become violent. On June 9th, Governor Ron Desantis said the state has drawn a line very clearly between protesting and rioting. Now, they did tell me that poop always runs downhill now, doesn't it? So why don't we climb up the hill of poop in Florida from Brevard County up to the state level and see what Ron DeSantis had to say.
And we also have a policy that if you're driving on one of those streets and a mob comes and surrounds your vehicle and threatens you, you have a right to flee for your safety. And so if you drive off and you hit one of these people, that's their fault for impinging on you. You don't have to sit there and just be a sitting duck and let the mob grab you out of your car and drag you through the streets. You have a right to defend yourself in Florida.
Now, let me help those whose brains may have been mushified. I know that's not a word, but it would fly on Fox News by virtue of watching Fox News. Let me help you guys. See, what Ron DeSantis just articulated was that you have the ability to flee if people surround you and angrily threaten to remove you from your car. Like things that nobody is taking to the streets to do and things that are already illegal. You don't actually need to say any of this, but the reason why you do is A, to put that image in the brains of people that are in their cars, to put that fear in the hearts of people that are moving around Florida when they see protesters, A, and B, to give them something to say just in case they decide that they want to take preemptive action. And again, we're talking about Florida, which means Florida men and Florida women.
A Jacksonville man is facing charges this morning after police say he made threats against protesters on social media.
Yeah, so the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office says it investigated an account linked to Zachary DeGrosse and made the connection to comments made under a post about ICE protesters saying that he would grab his buddy's tow truck and plow right through them.
I'm going to grab my buddy's tow truck and plow through every ignorant, un-American swine I see protesting the deportation of illegal immigrants. Now, again, I did say Florida men. Did I not? I did say Florida men, which explains his spelling of protesting as well as the random comma at the end, the use of ignorant. This is all Florida man behavior, including posting this in advance. You know what I mean? So as low as the bar was left by Ron DeSantis, this particular gentleman couldn't clear it. But just so we're all following, Ron DeSantis gave a playbook for how to get away with this kind of behavior. It didn't include posting it in advance, though. You almost there.
News for Jackson reporter Caleb Yager is joining us now. And Caleb, this arrest comes ahead of course, a weekend of thousands of protests that we know are planned across the country.
And JSO said that when detectives went into DeGrosse's home to question him, there was enough evidence to make an arrest. In fact, according to Florida state laws, it is a felony to make any kinds of threat like these online. And JSO stated that they will make arrests whether or not the individual plans to act upon it.
Now, I will give credit to the officers there in Jacksonville for taking preemptive action and actually taking this threat seriously. But Lord knows, that's not what would have happened in Brevard County, would it, Wayne Ivey?
In a press conference earlier this week in Jacksonville, Governor Ron DeSantis denounced the protests happening on the West Coast and says that they won't be tolerated in Florida. And he mentioned that law enforcement will be ready to take the proper measures if necessary.
We are not going to allow that to happen in Florida. I know people are talking about, hey, there's going to be, demonstrations around the country. And the line's very clear. Everybody, every police department, every sheriff's department, all state agencies know the line's clear.
That's right. The line is clear between peaceful and violent. But apparently you get to decide what's peaceful and what's violent.
So it is a constitutional right to protest, but according to the 2024 Florida statutes, it says that it is a misdemeanor to willfully interrupt or disturb schools, religious assemblies, or gatherings for lawful purposes. Protests are certainly prohibited within 500 feet of residences, cemeteries, funeral homes, and places of worship during funerals or burials, including 1 hour before or after this event. And it is illegal to advertise that individuals are not welcome based on their religion in public establishments. And penalties for violating these laws can include fines and imprisonment.
Now, we did say that poop runs downhill, right? We did say that. So we done gone from Wayne Ivey and we climbed the poop hill and we got to Ron DeSantis lifts, and then we climbed up Ron DeSantis lifts up to Ron DeSantis in the state level, and he got some other issues he needs to worry about too. That's a nice distraction for you, Ron DeSantis. We ain't forgot about you and your wife, player. Yeah, the only good thing we got coming from Florida is either Ron DeSantis, his wife, Casey DeSantis, or Byron Donalds, or both, is going to take a big fat L. That's the only thing that makes me feel a little bit good about Florida. That and Travis Hunter. Now, let's climb up the poop hill just a little bit higher to the federal level, where we see the origin of this kind of rhetoric.
Celebrating big on Saturday. We're going to have a lot of, and if there's any protest that wants to come out, they will be met with very big force. By the way, for those people that want to protest, they're going to be met with very big force. And I haven't even heard about a protest, but this is people that hate our country, but they will be met with very heavy force. Thank you very much, everybody.
Now, as short as that was, it was every bit as wrong as Wayne Ivey. I mean, literally every word was worse than the one before it, all the way down to people that hate our country when that is the foundation of the origin of our country. But if you're following the president, who hasn't heard of any protests, despite the fact that there literally is a nationwide day called No King's Day. So I guess they haven't covered it on Fox News. So the president that hasn't heard about any protests just put out that if there are any protests, they will be hit hard and dealt with harshly. Did you hear anything about violence? Anybody? Anybody? Did you hear anything about bricks? Did you hear anything about fire? Did you hear anything about what was it that Wayne Ivey said? Fire bombs? Did you hear anything about fire bombs? Did you hear anything about spitting? Hitting? Anything? No, just protesting. So if I got this straight, the president is saying that anybody protesting is going to be dealt with harshly and hit hard. That's what the president said. The president, who spends all day watching the network that mischaracterized what was going on in California, which was picked up by Ron Desantis and Wayne Ivey. But apparently the people that are protesting are supposed to trust, what was it, Ron DeSantis? The line? Is that what they're supposed to trust when you got your marching orders from the guy that doesn't respect protests at all? At least you guys gave it the decency of trying to soft shoe it. We got none of that from the guy who told us exactly what it was and his view of protests and clearly his view of American culture and American history and our American Revolution. But you won't take those lessons now, will you? Here's another lesson that you might want to take with you. I love how you guys love to talk about violent and nonviolent, peaceful versus violent, all that kind of thing. Well, that becomes a bit of a chicken or the egg argument when we're discussing due process, right? When due process is on the table, then it becomes up to you what apparently somebody did and didn't do. Kind of like how you're handling immigration in the first place, which is what got us here.
When they say illegal versus legal immigration, they are trying to end legal status in the United States as well. Correct, Governor Pritzker, with the end of TPS and making people undocumented by removing legal status, ending legal status, and then having the audacity to call them illegal when they were here documented, correct?
Taking students' visas away from people, taking their legal right to be in the United States away from them when they've been granted maybe years earlier to stay.
So I don't want to hear about how this is about illegal versus legal immigration. They are attacking legal status and removing legal status. The Republican majority is anti-legal immigration in the United States. And I want to make that very clear, and I yield back.
So not only do we have the president not respecting protests, period, what we also have is other examples of you criminalizing people. We don't need to talk about bad apples in individual police departments. Oh, no. We're talking about systemically criminalizing people. This is what you've already been doing, which is why the people are out there in the first place. But somehow they're supposed to trust that you will respect their First Amendment rights after you already put out the violence dog whistle to every knucklehead and long hair in Florida. That's what we're dealing with right here. Now, the one thing that I can say about all of this, it's not lost on everybody. Fortunately, there are people amongst us who find this as abhorrent as I do. And the ones who should actually find it the most problematic and disturbing is the veterans themselves.
Were you a service member for? 2 years. I was drafted.
You're drafted.
1969. Just got married.
So how do you feel about a draft dodger throwing himself a $45 million military birthday parade?
No, the guy is an absolute fucking idiot.
No, I can't even tell you how angry that makes me feel.
I think it's a disgrace.
It's completely unnecessary.
Would you rather see that money put into the VA?
Yeah, absolutely. And also TRICARE treats bone spurs. So
Trump dodged Vietnam. He disrespected John McCain, who was a real, actual veteran who served his country honorably, and even afterwards. So the fact that he would take this and use it as some kind of military prop, like he's wanting to be a dictator, because that's what dictators do.
Shout out to the guy for the Bone Spurs reference. And yes, he did disrespect John McCain. He also disrespected the folks over at Arlington Cemetery. He disrespected the history books. I mean, you could actually, it's a potpourri. You know, it's a choose your own adventure as far as his disrespect of the military, which is why I was so glad to see so many of you guys coming down to protest. You know, the thing that he hadn't heard of.
Why do you think it's important for veterans to be here today?
My kids right there. They need to know that what we fought for, me and you, what we sacrificed our lives for, wasn't the shit on the freaking hill right now. That it was for these people right here at this rally.
What brings you to this veterans rally today?
Supporting like-minded vets, supporting democracy, supporting our Constitution. Also, I've lived in this area over 10 years. I've never been to a rally, so this is literally my first one.
I spotted this guy's CIB from across the field. Why are you here today?
For everyone.
I'm here today because I believe this administration and its attempts to cut back on many aspects of government spending, in particular that towards the Veterans Administration, does not support not just the veterans, but all the people that work inside of it, the nurses, the doctors, all the other health practitioners that are there doing good work. They are valuable to our society. They are performing missions just as the veterans served missions for this country in the past also.
Yes, I left one out of my reasonings to be disgusted by this. There are the cuts to the VA and the veterans that have lost their federal jobs. There's that. Just take your pick. Now, I do want to give a shout out to CFH Unfiltered as well as Nancy Don't Ban Me Again. And unfortunately, yes, that is the name that you have to go with a TikTok account that is critical of the administration. That's the America we live in, TikTok. I hope you're proud of yourselves, especially when you see this part, because you remember all those veterans that came, you know, the people that were here to honor, at least so he said. We know it's really the birthday thing, but ostensibly he says that we're here to honor the veterans exercising their First Amendment rights, the thing that they fought to protect. Got arrested. 60 detained following veterans' protests against Army parade on Capitol Hill. 1 injured. Dozens of people who took part in a protest held by veterans protesting the Army's military parade on Saturday were detained on the U.S. Capitol grounds after entering a barrier and running towards the steps of the U.S. Capitol building for what organizers says was a staged sit-in. Capitol Police closed off a barrier in front of the Capitol moments after the protesters wrapped up outside the Supreme Court building. Roughly 60 members of the group then pushed down a bike rack and crossed police lines while running towards the rotunda steps, police officials said. Shortly after, protesters sat down on the steps with signs that read, "Veterans say military off our streets and money for people, not parades." And if you want to get just a good visual of what that looked like, and by all means, this perhaps should be the visual that you take with you from this entire affair. And yes, I mean the whole weekend in DC. How about this? One elderly veteran was originally returning to the group and then pushed past the fence to the Capitol Plaza. Officers offered to return him again, but he said he wanted to be with the rest of the protesters. They cuffed him and loaded him into the vans.
won't back down, we won't retreat.
Officer, is there any chance we can have this? He's old. It's just electrolytes. Is there any chance he can have an electrolyte
And that is where we are. Today's America. An elderly veteran getting arrested at the Capitol for protesting the treatment of veterans and the exploitation of veterans and the elimination of the rights that they fought and many died for, while Trump, who never served and has frequently disrespected veterans, makes the Army's 250th anniversary about himself. America first, right? And that is why I'm troubled. Hey, what's going on, y'all? Thanks so much for watching the video. Yes, that's right. Your boy is back from vacation, feeling refreshed and ready to go.
So I'm gonna get on this plane or not? Yes, you do. All right. So everyone's gonna shut up, and we're gonna say this once, and we're only gonna say it again because we're frustrated as hell.
And that definitely means you should be on the lookout for some new Way of Waters content. So make sure you check that out and subscribe to my second channel at Way of Waters. But while I was gone, y'all definitely held me down, and I appreciate that. I've mentioned before that I premiere all my videos, but did you know it actually gives me a ranking of who's doing the most work in the chat? They done messed around and passed Miss Ray. Shout out to All Things Go. I see Nick Adams, Non-Point in here, Patricia Jackson, Yolanda Gibson, Carney, my man Dank, I know Regina, I'm Just Jay, Roberta, and Alice in Kenzo Land. I see Honey Love, Jamal, Kat, Quentin, Tammy, Katrine, and Muriel rounding out the top 20.
Never could have made it without you. I said close them doors. Ushers, close the doors.
Make sure you be on the lookout for notifications when I schedule my video releases and my premieres so you can rise up that leaderboard. And while we're on the topic of support, I gotta show some love to the Mod Squad. No, not that Mod Squad. I'm talking about our Mod Squad. That is Mariana, Dank, Deshauna, Roberta, Free Me, Larry, Chernobyl, and of course, Miss Ray, who have made this channel a place where so many people feel comfortable being themselves, expressing, sharing, growing, and learning together. And I, for one, am eternally grateful to all of you for your contribution.